I'm excited to show you how easily you can make my healthy and incredibly satisfying gluten-free chicken nachos. They're quickly baked in a sheet pan with juicy shredded chicken, black beans, cheese, cottage cheese lime crema, tomatoes, avocado, and green onions. We're gonna start by cooking our shredded chicken, and I've just taken 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. So I've just placed each chicken breast inside of a plastic bag, and then I'm going to take a heavy object, which in my case is a rolling pin, and I'm just gonna pound the chicken until it's an even thickness throughout. And once the chicken breasts are pounded, I'll just take them out of their bag and then place them right on top. And using these bags keeps my countertop clean. To season our chicken, we're gonna sprinkle on several spices. I'm gonna start with some ground cumin, and then I'll add some onion powder, paprika, which also adds some beautiful color, garlic powder, a little bit of black pepper, and some coarse sea salt. And then I'll just pat this in, flip the chicken over, and repeat on the other side. Now we're ready to cook our chicken. I'm gonna cook the chicken in my enameled cast iron pot. You could easily do this in a pressure cooker or even bake it in your oven. And I include instructions for all 3 methods on the recipe card on my website. Now that my pot is nice and hot over medium-high heat, I'm gonna pour in 2 tablespoons of some light olive oil. I'll tilt my pan to make sure it's evenly coated. And then I'm gonna lay in the chicken and let it cook for about 3 to 4 minutes until it gets golden brown. We'll flip it over until it gets brown on the other side, and then we'll just let it cook for about 20 minutes till it's soft enough to shred. So I'm just gonna take the chicken breast and lay it right down inside the pan. And that sizzle is exactly what we want to hear. And now we'll just let it sit and cook for about 3 to 4 minutes or until it's golden brown. Now I'll flip these over. I have this beautiful color, which equals delicious flavor. And now I'll let these cook for about another 3 minutes to brown the underneath side. And while I'm waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and prep my chicken stock. We'll need 2 cups of chicken stock, and I love using this better than bouillon because all I have to do is add 2 teaspoons to 2 cups of water and stir it in, and then I have delicious chicken stock. And then I'm not having to store big cartons of chicken stock in my pantry. Well, it's been about 3 minutes. I'm gonna check the underneath side of our chicken, and it is nice and brown as well. So now we can go ahead and pour in our 2 cups of chicken stock. And then I'm gonna put on the lid, turn my heat to medium, and then let this cook for 15 minutes. The chicken has been cooking for 15 minutes, so I'll go ahead and take off the lid. Ooh, that looks amazing. I'll turn off the heat, and then we can carefully remove the chicken breast, and I'm gonna put them onto my cutting board. And then now I'll take 2 forks and start shredding the chicken. Oh, that looks so good. You can see how it's got this nice brown exterior with all those seasonings, and then it's just nice and juicy and white on the inside. And then once the chicken is all shredded, I like to go back in with my knife, just chop it up into slightly smaller pieces, which makes it a little bit more bite size on the nachos. Before we assemble our nachos, we want to have our cheese all grated. My favorite is to use a Vermont extra sharp white cheddar cheese. I love the flavor as well as the contrast of color. And I prefer to shred the cheese myself because the pre-shredded cheese that you buy at the store has been coated in cellulose, which keeps the little cheese strands from sticking together. I also love to add black beans. So just take a 15-ounce can of black beans, drain it really, really well, rinse the beans and strain them, and then they're ready to go. And then you need a bag of your favorite gluten-free tortilla chips. We're going to arrange our nachos on a baking sheet, and I like to line it with a piece of parchment paper, which just makes cleanup a little bit easier. To assemble our nachos, we're going to start by laying out a layer of tortilla chips. And then once we have a flat layer of chips, we can go ahead and start spreading on half of our chicken. And we're just going to sprinkle it right on top. And then we get to sprinkle on half of our cheese. And this is very #satisfying. As that cheese melts, it's going to fuse the chicken to the chips. And then we can sprinkle on half of our black beans. We're going to make these double-decker nachos, so we're going to add a second layer of our chips. Now that we have our second layer of chips, we can sprinkle in the rest of our chicken. And then we can sprinkle on the rest of our cheese. And if you think you need more cheese, you have my permission to grate up some more. I won't judge. The more cheese, the better. And then we'll finish it off with some more of our black beans. Well, that looks incredible, and it's ready to go into a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes, or until the cheese is just starting to toast on top. While our nachos are in the oven, we can go ahead and prep our fresh ingredients. I just took 2 Roma tomatoes and then finely diced them. And then we'll just take a ripe avocado, and then I'll just take a nice big spoon, carefully scrape it out, And then repeat for my second avocado. And I'll quickly dice these into some nice bite-sized little chunks and then season them with some salt. They look like little turtles. And then I'm going to take a bunch of cilantro and then I'll just roll up the leaves into a little bunch and then finally dice them. And then I'll take one green onion and finally dice it as well. And then I have a little squirt bottle that has my cottage cheese lime crema, and it is made with cottage cheese and Greek yogurt and lime juice, and it is absolutely delicious. And I've included a link in the video description below to my website, which has the recipe and a video showing you how easy it is to make. Now we are all ready for our cooked nachos. Well, these just came out of the oven and wow, they look amazing. You can see that the cheese on top was just starting to toast. That is perfect. And now we can go ahead and load these up with all of our fresh toppings. I'm going to start by adding some of the fresh cilantro. Next, I'll add some of our perfectly ripe creamy avocados. And then we'll sprinkle on some of our fresh tomatoes. And then to add some delicious cream to these nachos, I'm going to squirt on some of my lime crema. And this is just going to wake up all those flavors. And then as our sprinkles, we'll finish it off with some of our chopped green onions. Well, that looks incredible. And it's so fun preparing it all in one pan because it is ready to enjoy. And I am ready to dig in. That is so good. I need another bite. That is an incredible burst of unbelievable flavor. First, you get the crunch of the chip, and then you get the cheese that's melted on, and then you get that really juicy chicken, and then you get the smooth, creamy avocado, and a little bit of tang that comes in from the crema. This takes nachos to a whole nother level and is the party I want to be at. And I love that it's made with clean, natural ingredients that are gonna make me feel just as good even after I eat it. And you can serve this to your whole group regardless of any gluten allergies. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today to make this recipe. I've included a link to the full recipe in the video description below, which takes you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else who you think would love this recipe, please share it with them. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.